Hello everyone and welcome to Midlife Crisis, the show where I talk about every major DC crossover event in chronological order. This week we are finishing Final Crisis. If you didn't catch last week's video, then go back and watch that because that's part 1. This is part 2. So without any delay, let's just get straight back into this with Final Crisis issue 4, written by Grant Morrison with art by J.G. Jones. At the end of the last issue, Barry, Allen, and Wally West ended up 3 weeks in the future where they discovered that the world had been taken over by the anti-life equation. We then go back to the present day where we see the infection of the anti-life equation happen in real time. Everybody's looking at their phones, checking the internet, the anti-life equation is spreading, taking control of everybody, until there are only a few heroes left. The Ray, one of the superheroes who has the ability to turn into light, is able to escape from the watchtower because he was trapped in there by himself. He escapes from it and lands in the Hole of Justice where he sees Green Arrow taking down Tattooed Man. And we know that Tattooed Man had recently met with Black Lightning. Black Lightning was taken over by the anti-life equation and he gave Tattooed Man a message to give to any other heroes he could find. So the Ray has to tell Green Arrow to let Tattooed Man go, and then they all head into the Hole of Justice together to meet with the remaining survivors and figure out what to do next. There are a lot of anti-life soldiers outside the Hole of Justice, so everybody is trapped in here. They've put up the shields for the Hole of Justice so that nothing can get in, but the shields won't hold forever. They can't teleport out of the Hole of Justice the regular way using the teleporters, because the anti-life equation will see them and then trap them or kill them or take over them. So they gotta try and escape the Hole of Justice without the anti-life equation knowing. The other remaining survivors are Barbara Gordon, Black Canary, Jai and Ira, Wally's children, Linda Park, and Joanne, who is Jay Garrick's wife. They ask the Ray what's going on with the situation in Bloodhaven, and he's like, nope, it's not good. And we see what's going on in Bloodhaven. Everybody they sent there is dead. And then we see what's currently going on with Darkseid and his crew. Darkseid is trying to take over the body of Dan Turpin and is slowly succeeding. Dan is trying to fight back. Meanwhile, Darkseid's underlings are all fighting over who Darkseid is going to prefer once he takes over the world, who's going to get the most land and support from him. We get to meet Darkseid's son Calabac in his new body, which is a tiger-human hybrid. And something that's really sad is that he's killed the Green Lantern that we saw earlier that was trying to help Jon Stewart and ripped his arm off. I think this is the first time I'm going to have to censor a DC comic. While the internet has been shut down by Oracle to stop the anti-life equation from spreading, the Ray reveals that there is a different kind of internet created by the supervillains called the Unternet, and that he's going to connect to it with his powers so that it can communicate to secret watchtowers that have been set up around the world where other remaining heroes are hiding. He connects through to Mr. Terrific, who is in Watchtower number 1, which is in Switzerland. We see the other watchtowers. Watchtower number 3 is in the Fortress of Solitude. Number 5 is Superbia. Number 4 is in Karnak, where Black Adam is. Captain Marvel goes to visit Black Adam in order to recruit him into the coming war, because all of these heroes are going to go to Bloodhaven for the final stand, because that's where Darkseid is. Alan Scott is giving out his message to get everybody to go to Bloodhaven, but unfortunately his message is cut short because the anti-life equation manages to shut down the Unternet. So now our little group that we're following have been separated from the rest of their teams. Black Lightning gave Tattooed Man something called the Circuit, and he has to keep it safe. And so Tattooed Man put it on his own body, so he transforms into kind of a Metron look. We'll find out what the circuit is for later. For now, Black Lightning shows up and breaks the shield on the Hall of Justice, so now all of the anti-life soldiers can get in. So now they really need to get out. And Ray reveals that he can use his powers to imitate that of a teleporter. So he'll be able to teleport them out of the building without the anti-life equation knowing. The only problem is stopping the anti-life equation soldiers from attacking them while they're in the teleporters. So Oliver Queen, Green Arrow, decides to stay behind and keep them busy while the rest of the heroes teleport away to safety. There's a heart-wrenching moment between Black Canary and Green Arrow as they have to say goodbye to each other. "Don't do this. I can't lose you." "I worked out the angles. They won't get me. I'll use the anti-life arrow. Pretty bird." "Ollie, my beautiful Robin Hood." She kisses the glass that's separating the two of them. And then they teleport away, leaving Green Arrow behind. Meanwhile, in the future, Wally West and Barry Allen have their long-awaited reunion. Even though they have reunited a couple of times, Wally West has met past versions of Barry Allen while he was the Flash. There's a moment in this where Barry Allen is like, "Hey, you've gone back to your old costume, Wally. Things must be more dire than I thought." Which doesn't really make much sense because Barry Allen has already seen Wally in his old costume again, because Wally met a past version of Barry Allen during Chain Lightning, and during that event he was wearing his old costume, so Barry Allen should remember that, but he doesn't. It's just Morrison forgetting continuity stuff, I guess. Anti-Life Equation Wonder Woman and her followers are looking for Wally and Barry, so they have to run away and hide in the apocalyptic future. That's all they're really doing. Back in the present, Green Arrow fights against the Anti-Life Equation soldiers. Black Lightning shows up and uses his powers against Oliver, which he just can't fight against because Oliver's just a human. So he knocks Oliver down and he puts the helmet on his head, and Oliver Queen is taken over by the Anti-Life Equation, which is really sad. You know, I like Oliver Queen. It's sad that he's been taken over now. But he doesn't go down easy. He goes down fighting. He's like, "You didn't get them. You'll never get us all, you bastards, and we'll fight to the last, and we'll..." And then he gets the helmet put on him. The rest of the group made it safely to the Watchtower and immediately activate the Watchtower's weapons system. But at this point, it might be too late, because Dan Turbin is losing the battle against Darkseid with control over his body. Glory tests who is in full control by asking Dan to either put thumbs up for humanity's spirit triumphing, or thumbs down to summon a day of Holocaust that will never end. Iris West gets taken over by the Anti-Life Equation while watching TV, but Barry Allen and Wally show up, and Wally's like, "It's too late, Barry. She's been taken over by the Anti-Life Equation." But Barry kisses her and fixes her, so I guess he's the cure to the Anti-Life Equation. Maybe it'll be explained. It's a sweet moment. But things around the globe aren't looking too hot as it started raining blood. And at Watchtower 1, where Mr. Terrific is, their base is breached by Mr. Miracle and his group. All the Shade soldiers see him and draw their guns, and Mr. Miracle is like, "Whoa, whoa, don't shoot. We can save the world." And then they just shoot him. They don't even listen to him. They shoot him straight through the chest. And then we cut back to Dan Turpin, where it seems he may have lost the battle against Darkseid, as he gives a thumbs down to Glory's answer. "The choice is simple, because here at the end, there's no choice at all. Only Apocalypse and Darkseid, forever. Give in." Something I forgot to mention about Final Crisis Issue 4 in regards to the Justice League members trapped inside a giant hourglass. Because some of the Justice League members in here, it doesn't make sense for them to be in there. Like Hal Jordan is in there, but he's currently on trial for attacking Jon Stewart. And then we got Martian Manhunter in here, who was killed by Libra. And I'm pretty sure Batman is supposed to be in Bloodhaven at the moment. So I don't know why he would be here either. So either this is just a massive mistake by the artist, or this isn't supposed to be the Justice League taken over by the Anti-Life Equation. And if that's the case, I have no idea what this is supposed to be. Maybe an alternate version of the Justice League? Who knows? And it's at this point in issue 5 of Final Crisis where I begin to get frustrated with the story and with Morrison, because things just get so damn confusing, and it annoys me so much because there is just stuff that isn't explained, things that happen that are hard to explain. They are just things that happen. That's as well as I can explain them, so I'm gonna do my best to explain what happens during this issue, because it's too much going on at the same time. Hal Jordan is currently on trial for attacking Jon Stewart and killing Orion. We know that he wasn't the one that did it. We know it was Kraken the entire time. But the Alpha Lanterns are supposed to be infallible, so they have to take her at her word, even though it's Granny Goodness in control of her. However, Kyle Rayner and Guy Gardner show up and are like, that's not Kraken. She's been taken over by Granny Goodness, probably. We're telling you, like, Hal Jordan did not kill Jon Stewart, or did not attack Jon Stewart, or kill Orion. She did. And Kraken just doesn't even bother hiding her true intentions anymore, and just reveals the fact that she's Granny Goodness, tries to gain the power of the battery on Oa. The Guardians are able to teleport the battery away for a moment, because they're able to hide it whenever it's in danger. So Hal Jordan is able to break out of his shackles. He fights Kraken and takes her down, and then Hal, Guy, and Kyle all decide to head to Earth in order to save it from Darkseid, because shit's going down over there. It's not good. Renee Montoya is invited by Amanda Waller to join Operation Biomax, which are these things created by Checkmate that they had been making for a long time to combat something like this. They were like, oh, one day Darkseid's gonna take over the world, so let's build these guys to fight against him. These were invented specifically for this issue. There is no history behind them. They just exist now because Morrison was like, oh yeah, here's another thing I can stuff into this comic book just to make it even more overstuffed. Darkseid sends out his female Furies to go and look for people and take them down. I'm assuming this is supposed to take place before when they are attacking Barry and Wally 3 weeks in the future. The Furies are led by Wonder Woman, and she has gashes all over her back, which looks like she's been whipped a whole bunch of times. Kind of nasty. Darkseid says that the hour of apocalypse is upon us, and that the fifth world is about to be born. The fifth world is this new era that Darkseid plans on creating, where everybody is controlled by him. The remaining heroes are trying to stop Darkseid's forces from getting into the castle where Mr. Terrific is, and they're having to attack their own allies and friends who have been taken over by the Anti-Life Equation. Meanwhile, on the inside of the castle, Mr. Terrific's men have just shot Mr. Miracle, which isn't good. And so now they gotta fix the relationship between these characters because they're mad that Mr. Terrific just shot their friend. But it doesn't really matter because Mr. Miracle is fine. He reveals that he found Mr. Terrific using the mother box, and that they're gonna have to join together in order to stop Darkseid's forces. And that's all that really happens in this. He's just like, yeah, I bought the mother box. This is how I was able to find you. And what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to paint this pattern that we have on our faces on your faces as well. He doesn't give any context as to why. He just says, hey, look at this paint on our face. Put that same pattern on your face right now. Calabac, in his new tiger form, fights against a bunch of the heroes with his army of tigers. We get to see Frankenstein leading an army consisting of Supergirl, Black Adam, Freddy as Captain Marvel, because the other Captain Marvel is off saving the multiverse with Superman and Superman Beyond. So they all start fighting Calabac's forces, and that's when Mary Marvel shows up. Black Adam tries to kill her, but Captain Marvel stops him from killing her because he states that that's not Mary and that there is a new god inside of her controlling her. Some kind of old man. They don't state which new god it is. Maybe it's Darkseid. That would make a lot of sense. That's when Mary's tiger friend, Tawny, shows up. He's a tiger-human hybrid. And he believes that it's Mary. And Captain Marvel has to be like, no, it's not Mary. She'll kill you. And then Calabac shows up behind Tawny. It's like, you're not going to have to worry about Mary. You're going to have to worry about me, because I'm going to kill you. Meanwhile, because we need more things going on at the same time, Uwotan is thrown into a prison, and everybody that is thrown in this prison are people that can't be affected by the anti-life equation. So there's Uwotan, some guy with hairy hands wearing a cloak, have no idea who this person is supposed to be. We don't get to see their face. And then there's also a guy trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. He's in a wheelchair. And the guy in the cloak says to Uwotan that you have no memories of who you used to be, but you have the ability to bring things to life through your drawings. And Uwotan can kind of remember a woman that he's drawn on some paper. And the guy in the cloak tells Uwotan that he needs to remember who this woman is, and he also needs to just will himself to be a being that can stop this whole thing with Darkseid. Uwotan remembers the name of the woman, which is Weezadel, and then the guy making the Rubik's Cube completes it. He says 17, and then a blue light washes through over the room. If you want me to explain exactly what's going on, I have no idea. He just fixes the Rubik's Cube, and then it goes ping, and then a big blue light comes out of it. No explanation as to what is happening, but that's what happened. Meanwhile, the supervillain group led by Libra had a mole in their group. Somebody who was giving information to the heroes, so they're trying to figure out who that is. They think it's the Calculator, so they're gonna execute him. And Lex Luthor is like, well, if it's not you, then whoever it really is should come out, otherwise you're gonna be executed. And Libra tells Lex Luthor that if he keeps following his orders, Lex Luthor might get to be at the front of the line for Supergirl, implying that they are going to do awful things to Supergirl, who is a teenager, by the way, which is messed up. Why is this in here? To make these villains look evil? To make Lex Luthor look like a pedo? Like, ugh, do we really need to take a page away from this book just to show this? Lex Luthor is supposed to be a despicable human being, but pedophile is not what I would have on that list. The worst part is they're talking about doing awful things to Supergirl, and then immediately after that we cut to Supergirl fighting Mary Marvel alongside Jon Stewart. Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner, and Guy Gardner make it back to Earth and try to enter Earth's atmosphere. And then the Fifth World begins. Darkseid succeeds in taking over the entire population of the Earth and gives out a little speech. When I make a fist to crush your resistance, it is with 3 billion hands. When I stare into your eyes and shatter your dreams and break your heart, it is with 6 billion eyes. Nothing like Darkseid has ever come among you. Nothing will again. I will take you to a hell without exit or end, and there I will murder your souls, and make you crawl and beg, and die for Darkseid. Something new is born. The fifth world dawns in flame and thunder. The judge of all evil is here, and it is shown that Uwotan has transformed into something else. Something that is described as the judge of all evil. And he's got some weird computer shit going on all over his head. He kind of looks like Static, honestly. Static Shock. Next up is Batman issue 682 and 683, written by Grant Morrison with art by Lee Garbett. There isn't really a whole lot to explain when it comes to these issues. We just see what happens to Batman when he was kidnapped by Darkseid forces and put into that weird brain helmet thing. What they are doing is they're trying to do an emotional transfer. They're trying to take all of Bruce's emotions and secrets and memories and put them into the clones that they are trying to make. And in order to do that, they have captured this creature called the Lump, who looks like Clayface. They've attached him to a chair, and the Lump is sifting through Bruce's memories, pretending to be Alfred. And so we get to see all of his memories, like when he recruited Dick Grayson to become Robin. We see the early days of Batman and Robin. We see when Batman recruited Jason to become the second Robin. We see when Jason died. And as these memories continue to show, we see that Bruce is beginning to fight back against the Lump. He realizes that the Lump is inside his memories. His mind is fortified enough that he is able to be conscious within his own memories and meet with the Lump and fight back against it. And he knows that Darkseid's forces will kill the Lump if Bruce is proving to be too strong. And he promises the Lump that even if they kill him on the outside, he will live on within Bruce's memories. Bruce fighting against the emotional transfer causes the clones to start freaking out. They start dying. So they decide to pull a plug on the whole situation. They try to kill the Lump, and it doesn't work. The Lump wakes up and starts attacking everybody, and so they kill him for real this time. But by this point, it's too late, because Batman has reawoken and is about to escape from the headgear that he has over his head. And that's everything that we really need to know from these two issues. You can go and read it if you want to see all the memory stuff, but it's just a lot of stuff that we already know about Batman, and I would be sitting here for ages talking about every single little memory that they show in these books. I just want to move on and get on to the rest of Final Crisis. So yeah, that's all that happens in this, so let's get back to Final Crisis with issue 6. Issue 6 of Final Crisis has some extra artists accompanying J.G. Jones. You got Carlos Pacheco, Doug Mank, Marco Rudy, Christian Alamy, and Jesus Merino. In the far future, Superman meets up with Brainiac 5 because Brainiac needs to show him a weapon that they call the Miracle Machine, which is supposedly able to create anything that you can think of. And they had to lock it away because even a stray thought could destroy reality itself. But now they want Superman to use the machine to save the universe because they feel like he has the strongest mind to be able to use a machine like this for the right thing. But as Superman tries to get closer to the machine, he begins to fade away because he's being brought back to his time. Meanwhile, in the Watchtower, Tattooed Man and Black Canary have a really lovely moment where she brings him into the Justice League as a member, but she's going to be his leader. It's because he's been showing some real heroic nature lately, especially because he's the one looking after the circuit that was entrusted to him by Black Lightning. She wants him and the Ray to get out of the Watchtower and go down to Bloodhaven so that they can use the circuit to stop Darkseid. But before they can escape the Watchtower, it's attacked by Darkseid's forces. Meanwhile, on Earth, Supergirl and Mary Marvel continue their fight from throughout the city, destroying buildings across the entire city. It is revealed that Mary Marvel is being controlled by Darkseid. Black Adam is able to hear Darkseid's mind in her head because of his god powers, I guess. They don't really explain it. Black Adam's powers just let him hear gods in other people's heads. Freddy sees the fight going on and comes up with an idea. Meanwhile, Calabac is fighting Tawny, and Tawny lunges at Calabac, bites into his shoulder, but then Calabac smacks him in the face. Freddy grabs Mary and says Shazam, which turns him and Mary Marvel back into their human forms and frees Mary of Darkseid's influence. And Tawny scratches Calabac in the torso, ripping out his guts and killing him. So Tawny's the MVP. He just killed the son of Darkseid. Mary Marvel's just like, oh my god, what have I done? How could have I done this? And Freddy's like, it wasn't you, it was Darkseid. And I'm kind of like, yeah, it wasn't her that was doing all this stuff during Final Crisis, but during Countdown, Darkseid is in that. He did not have control over her. So that, everything that Mary did in Countdown, she did do. But I guess we're just going to sweep that under the rug. We're going to pretend that Countdown didn't happen. And she didn't do any of that stuff. We're going to ignore it. And I'm fine with that. No, I didn't see anything. Because he defeated Calabac, the rest of the Tiger dudes all bow to Tawny as their new leader. Which is cool. I like this. Imagine showing this panel to somebody who has never read a DC comic. To someone and just saying, this is from a DC comic. They'd be like, what the hell? It's like a tiger in a suit with a whole bunch of tigers around him all bowing. And then you tell them that it's not just from any DC comic, it's from a very important event. The same one where Darkseid takes over the entire world. Mr. Miracle finally reveals what the face paint is. It's exactly what you thought it would be. It stops you from being taken over by the anti-life equation. Simple as that. You just put the paint on your face, you're all good. And you think Darkseid would have come up with ways to combat something like this. Like, you would have thought he would have thought of this? Like, it's kind of funny that the solution to the anti-life equation and not being taken over by it is this simple. Darkseid's forces invade the Watchtower and try to take over Two-Man's mind by putting a helmet on his head, but because he's got the circuit in him, it doesn't work. The circuit jams the signal that is being used to control everybody with the anti-life equation, and so they are able to fight back against them and knock out Green Arrow and Black Lightning and all the other characters that are being controlled by the anti-life equation inside the Watchtower. Look at me, Oliver Queen. Look at me and fight, damn it. Snap out of it. Now! And she just palms him in the face. Renee Montoya is introduced to an AI called Lord I, because Amanda Waller's plan is to abandon this Earth because they think it's too far gone and find a new Earth and go over there. And they found one, and they need Renee's help to lead them to this new Earth. It's also revealed that Lex Luthor was the mole within the supervillain group, which is a massive surprise. Who didn't see that coming? And he's also working with Dr. Sivana, because Dr. Sivana's daughter was taken over by the anti-life equation, so he joins Lex Luthor, and they turn against Libra, because Dr. Sivana just happens to have been able to create a watch that can jam the signal of the anti-life soldiers. How was Libra not able to guess that Lex Luthor was the mole? It's so obvious. You'd think that would be the first person that he would suspect. Jay Garrick meets up with Barry Allen and Wally West, and Barry reveals that the key, or one of the keys to defeating Darkseid, is the Black Racer. So they need to go and find him and use him. Meanwhile, Batman meets with Darkseid and reveals to Darkseid that he has a gun, and inside the gun is a radion bullet, which was the same bullet that was used to kill Orion. Batman took the bullet and put it in his belt. He's had it this entire time. And so he plans on shooting and killing Darkseid with it. Darkseid's like, can you outrun my Omega beams? Batman's like, try me. And he shoots the bullet. It goes straight through Darkseid's shoulder, supposedly killing him as all this dark energy leaks out of his shoulder. And the Omega beams come at both sides towards Batman and hit Batman. This is the famous scene that everybody pulls up to show how strong Batman is, where they're like, oh, he shot Darkseid with a bullet. Keep in mind that this is a very underpowered version of Darkseid. This is Darkseid in a human body with very limited amount of power. Batman cannot kill peak Darkseid. This is not peak Darkseid. This is like 10% Darkseid. Then all of a sudden, Superman just starts blasting through Metropolis? I think it's Metropolis? A city. Just blasting through buildings, shooting out his heat vision. Supergirl's just like, Kal-El? Just flying through the city, while everybody looks around at the sky and is like, oh my god, it's the end of the world. And then we see a shot of Superman standing, holding Batman's dead body. His corpse, because Batman was killed by the Omega beams. That's right, Batman's dead. Which people tend to leave out when they talk about how Batman shot Darkseid. It's like, yeah, he shot Darkseid, but also he died in the process. We meet an alternate universe version of Superman who is President Superman, and he meets Renee Montoya, who has been traveling around the multiverse, recruiting different Superman or characters like Superman from throughout the multiverse, including Captain Marvel and some other characters. So they recruit President Superman to help them save the universe from Darkseid. Superman comes face to face with Darkseid, where Darkseid tries to mess with his head. You turned your back, and I wrecked your world. I robbed your people of their powers, their hopes, their future, themselves. What will you do when your friends, your enemies, your lover are all Darkseid, where there is one body, one mind, one will, one life that is Darkseid? Will you be the enemy of all existence then? What irony that will be, son of Krypton. Ha 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 ha. And then Superman just grabs him by the throat. He's like, monster, what have you done? Why did you take over Dan Turpin's body? You could have used Batman's. And Darkseid explains that Batman's mind is too strong. He would have broken out of his control at some point. Dan Turpin's mind was strong enough that he was able to fight against Darkseid enough to tire and then submit. Darkseid then orders all of his followers to kill Superman. They aim their Omega beams at Superman and they begin shooting them, but Barry Allen and Wally West, followed by the Black Racer, are able to arrive just in time to redirect the Omega beams towards Darkseid, and also the Black Racer towards Darkseid. So Darkseid gets hit by all of the Omega beams and the Black Racer, killing Darkseid, supposedly, and freeing Dan Turpin of his influence. But Darkseid isn't fully dead, because he exists within everyone now. He's just now free from Dan Turpin. Now that Dan Turpin is free, they still gotta deal with all of these people that are controlled by Darkseid. And that's when Lex Luthor and Dr. Sivana show up and decide to team up with Superman and the rest of the heroes to fight against the Apocalyptic forces and all of the people controlled by the anti-life equation. Wonder Woman is able to break free of Darkseid's influence. Just like that, she kind of pulls her mask off and breaks it, and then uses her lasso. They describe it as she binds Darkseid's body with her lasso of truth. She chained the god of evil, and no one was hurt. So she used her lasso of truth to free everybody from the anti-life equation, because she can just do that. Superman meets with what's left of Darkseid, his essence or something. Don't really explain it. This is just what's left of him. He brings the miracle machine with him and reveals to Darkseid that right now he's just made up of a whole bunch of frequencies, and all Superman has to do to stop him is break the frequencies with some kind of vibration, so he sings and destroys what remains of Darkseid. That's how Superman defeats him. He just sings, disrupting the vibrations that make up what's left of Darkseid, destroying him. Darkseid always hated music. After destroying what's left of Darkseid, Superman plans to use the Miracle Machine to fix everything, but before he can, Mandrax shows up with his vampire Ultraman from earlier and is like, "It's too late, Superman. I'm gonna destroy the universe and the multiverse. There's nothing you can do." And meanwhile, the Green Lanterns are trying to get back to Earth still, using their powers. And that's when all of the Multiversal Supermen arrive, and they all fight Mandrax forces. They've been led there by Uotan and his new abilities. Mandrax summons all these shadow demons, and the Multiversal Supermen and all these other superheroes all fight Mandrax forces. And then the Green Lanterns manage to break through and arrive on Earth, where they also fight against Mandrax forces, and using the power of light, because Mandrax and his forces are all kind of like vampires, they just kill him. It's a little anticlimactic. They're just like, eh. Like, Mandrax just kind of shows up out of nowhere. He's like, "Hey, it was me the entire time. I'm the true villain." And then he just gets killed pretty much immediately. Like, they didn't even struggle against him. It wasn't that hard. They also killed Ultraman as well, because he was a vampire. So Mandrax is defeated, and all of his forces are defeated. And then Superman uses the machine off-panel to fix everything, and everything's back to normal. That's it. It's all peaceful. City's being rebuilt, and Uotan has a meeting in front of the rest of the monitors, basically just to tell them, we need to stop meddling in the affairs of the multiverse. We need to let the multiverse be and stop trying to change things and fix things, because every time we do that, we always mess it up. So we're just going to stop doing that from now on. Uotan is then reunited with Ouija-Del, and Ouija-Del asks Uotan what was Superman's wish that he made on the Miracle Machine. And Uotan says, he's Superman. He wished only the best for all of us. Close your eyes. He wished for a happy ending, Ouija-Del. The end. That's the end of Final Crisis. Overall, I'm not really a fan, if I'm being honest. I'm not a huge fan of Final Crisis, for one major reason, and that is how overly complicated and confusing it is. You got 7 to 8 different plot lines going on. Like, this book had just as much plot lines going on in it as Countdown did. It just wasn't 52 issues long. Instead, it was all crammed into 7 issues. It felt very overstuffed, way too much going on. Every single issue left me mentally exhausted, which I think is a bad thing when it comes to a comic book, especially if you're reading a 7-issue limited series. You shouldn't feel the need to take breaks from just 7 issues. But every time I was reading a couple of issues, I needed to get up and walk away and make a cup of tea or relax for a bit, because my brain was hurting from everything. And that's not a good thing. That's a criticism of this book. It's just too much. A lot of stuff going on that, in the end, doesn't matter. Like the whole stuff with, all the stuff with Lord I, the stuff with Tattooed Man had way less of a payoff than you were led to believe it would. They made it out like he was going to be the key to saving everyone, and he wasn't. And then you've got Mandrak, a villain who is supposed to be the driving force behind everything that's going on in Final Crisis, and yet most of his role happens in a 2-issue miniseries tie-in to Final Crisis. And then he shows up at the very end of Final Crisis and is defeated immediately by Green Lanterns. He's not even defeated by the Multiversal Supermen. He is defeated by Green Lanterns. This series is a lot better than things like Countdown, Millennium. I'd even say it's better than maybe 0 Hour. But I would rank this as lower than Crisis on Infinite Earths and Infinite Crisis and 52, a lot of the better events. I'd even rank Justice League 1 million or DC 1 million above this, just because those events are a lot more coherent, a lot less confusing. I'd honestly say Final Crisis isn't worth reading unless you want to read everything. It's not worth it. It's not worth the exhaustion that you're going to feel reading it. I read everything I needed to read in order to read Final Crisis. I read Infinite Crisis. I read 52. The payoff isn't worth it. There's no payoff for those. Like, the payoff for those events in Final Crisis is practically non-existent. It's not worth it. But with that little rant out of the way, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. And we're not done entirely with Final Crisis yet. We've still got some tie-ins that we didn't do that weren't crucial to Final Crisis, some miniseries like Rogue's Revenge that I am going to do some videos about. So next week we're going to do The Flash, Rogue's Revenge. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I'll see you next week. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and have a good one.